Okay, guys, I welcome you to my lesson for today, where we'll be looking at mathematics paper 1. So this was an exam paper of 2021. It was written in September last year. Good people, my name is Desmond, and I hope you will enjoy my lesson for today. So obviously, you have noticed that I've sent some information in the group. I'll just bring the question paper just so that you guys can be able to see what we'll be dealing with in today's lesson. I assume you are all able to see over there. So in today's lesson, what I'm going to be doing is just to interpret to you guys what type of a problem we'll be dealing with over there, and again solve the problems, and most importantly show you guys exactly where you score some marks. So just make sure that for every question that I solve, you fully understand all the necessary steps, and most importantly, if you've got a question, you can just make sure to stop me and ask that question. So I'll just be copying each of these problems and work them out as I continue. Okay, so the first question being 1.1, it says solve for x. So determination, there's nothing else that we're doing other than solving for x. So solve for x, it's exactly what we'll be doing in this case. So now let's have a look at 1.1.1. So the question that we're given is x squared plus 2x minus 15, and this is equals to 0. So this question is allocated 3 marks. So for questions which are allocated 3 marks, determination, don't stress that much. They should be straightforward questions. So let's try to do a bit of an interpretation of what we're having over there. So we can see they're saying x squared plus 2x minus 15 is equals to 0. So this is an equation because I see an equal sign over there. And again, it's a quadratic equation because I'm able to see a power of 2 over there, which means it has to be written in the standard form. How will it be written in the standard form, or how will you notice if it's in the standard form? That's if you have this equation in that form of ax squared plus bx plus c, and everything must be equated to 0. So you can see our a value is positive and it's in that format, and everything is equated to 0, which means you can now move to the next step of finding the factors, or in other words, you factorize. So there are multiple ways in which you can factorize. You can easily use your head to find the factors, or some of you guys, I know you like using a quadratic formula. So whichever one that you use, it's fine. But let's see. Can we try and find two values? When multiplied together, they give us 15. I think 5 and again 3. These two values, when multiplied together, they give us 15, and again we can work them out to give us the middle term. So most importantly, guys, the sign, the bigger number takes the sign of the middle term. So what is the bigger number between these two? Obviously it's 5, so it takes the sign of the middle term. So that means we are having positive 5 over there. So to have negative 15, that's if you multiply by a negative value over there. Therefore, you can say x minus 3 is equals to 0, or x plus 5 is equals to 0. Then you transpose. You therefore have x is equals to positive 3, or x is equals to negative 5. So remember, guys, when you use a quadratic formula, it actually gives you the final answers, of which you need to work out the factors based on the final answers that you got from your quadratic equation. Most importantly, Tando, when you've got a quadratic equation, remember we say it's a quadratic equation because it has a power of 2. So the moment it has a power of 2, it means you are going to have two values of y. So we have what we call a linear equation. We also have what we call a quadratic equation. So a linear equation, that's when you have a power of 1. So that means the variable, which could be x, which could be y, which could be any letter from a up to z, is to the power of 1. So that one, it means your final answer, you are just going to have one value of the unknown. But in this case, we are going to have two values of the unknown. So remember, guys, this question is allocated only 3 marks. So normally you are given a mark for finding the correct factors, and then from there they will give you a mark for your x values. So remember, guys, we're doing nothing else but solving for x, which means in the end, or finally, you should find your final answer being x is equals to something. Okay, so guys, are we ready to move to the next question? Did that make a perfect sense to everyone? Okay, I suppose it did make sense to everyone. We will therefore move to our next question, being 1.1.2, and in this case we are given 3x squared plus x minus 1, and this is equals to 0, and this question is allocated 3 marks. So just remember, guys, to verify that everything that I'm writing over there is correct, because sometimes it happens that you copy the question incorrectly. That will mean you'll be solving the wrong problem, of which even if you get it correctly, but for the fact that it's not what examiner requested you to solve, you won't get full marks for that. Okay, so let's see. Question number 2, 1.1.2, we are given a quadratic equation. Why am I saying it's a quadratic equation? First thing first, it's an equation because I see an equal sign. Because of the power of 2, it means it's a quadratic equation. Therefore, you need to make sure that it's in the standard form. So if it's not in the standard form, you need to rewrite it in the standard form. How do you know it's in the standard form? That's if you have your positive a value and everything is equated to 0. That's when you know it's in the standard form, and it's in that form of ax squared plus bx plus c. So because they say correct to 2 decimal places, it means you cannot use your head to find the factors of that equation over there, but instead you need to use a quadratic formula. Some of you guys might not be aware that having ax squared plus bx plus c is equals to 0. What they did was to try and make x the subject of the formula out of this. And guess what? When they make x the subject of the formula out of that, this is what they get. X is equals to negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So the quadratic equation comes from that standard form of a quadratic equation. So it's more like they had all of this and they tried to make x the subject of the formula. So that is why on this equation you have that a being there, you have that b being there, and there you have the c is there, you also have your a there. That x is that one over there. So this is where the formula for a quadratic formula comes from. Very, very much important, guys, over there. Okay, so now let's use this formula to answer the question. So let's see. we have our x being equals to negative into, what is our b? You can see is positive 1 plus or minus square root of positive 1 square minus 4. What is our a? Is 3 into, what is our b? So our our c is negative. Very, very much important that you substitute it as a negative in your brackets. Therefore, all over 2a. What is our a? Is 3. Then, ladies and gentlemen, what you're going to do over there is to punch all of that by firstly using what is it? A positive sign, and then from there you use a negative sign. So what are you guys getting when you punch that using a positive sign?
0.43.
Okay, but remember, just so that you don't lose some marks, firstly write it in that fraction format. I'm not sure which calculator you're using, but if you're using Casio, I'm thinking it should allow you to give a fraction button. Tando? Are you still fighting the calculator, guys?
No, giving us negative 1 plus square root of 13 all over 3.
Negative 1 plus square root of 13 over 2. Then you can give the decimal for this one. What is it in a form of a decimal?
6.
Mm-hmm.
Not 2.
Or over 6.
So,
Yes. Guys, I'm still waiting for an answer for this one of a positive. 0.43. And then for this one, what are we having there?
Negative 1 plus square root of
Can you complete it? Who was it?
square root of 13 over 16.
Over 1/6. So this is what you're getting when you punch a negative over there. Is it correct, guys? What are you getting
Yes,
as
sir.
a decimal? What are you getting as a decimal there?
Negative 0.77.
So you say negative 0.77.
Yes, sir.
Okay, 100%. So in that case, this is how you score your full mark. So normally they give you a mark for correct substitution, and then from there for your final answers, that's when they give you your 2 marks. So I hope we were all on the same page on that one, and we can therefore move to the next question. So remember, guys, just in case if you've got a question, you are more than welcome to just pose a question in the middle of my explanation over there. Okay, so let's see. We are now moving to 1.1.3, and we are given x into that you close, and then you have greater or it's equals to -2. And this question, it's allocated for marks. Okay, so remember guys, always in mathematics, when you're given a problem, just try to understand the type of a problem that you're dealing with. So in this case, we firstly need to remove the brackets in order to understand the type of a problem that we are dealing with. And most importantly, we can see an inequality sign over there, which means we are dealing with an inequality. So let's remove the brackets so that we can be able to understand the nature of the problem that we're dealing with. So you multiply this by that and that by that. What are you having? You have x squared. That by that is negative 3x. I think that's it. So this is greater or it's equals to negative 2. So what type of a problem is this? Because of a power there, it makes it a quadratic. Is it a quadratic equation? No. Why not an equation? Because it doesn't have an equal sign, but it has an inequality sign, which makes it a quadratic inequality. So that means you're going to apply a different method to answer this question, of which it's a procedure that you follow when you are dealing with inequalities. So let's see. Remember, always when you're given a quadratic type of a problem, doesn't matter whether it's an equation or it's an inequality, you just need to write it in the standard form, which means it has to be x squared minus 3x, and then you transpose, it changes the sign, it becomes positive 2. This sign, it doesn't change, it remains as that. So this sign, it only changes when you have a negative a and you say it's either you divide by negative 1 or you change the sign of everything over there. So are you guys able to know what is that sign? Is it not confusing? Uh, are you not confused whether that is greater or less than?
No, sir.
Okay, Tando. But which sign is that determination?
I think it's greater than.
So it's greater than or is equals to? No.
Is
So
greater than or is constant.
yes. So this one is greater than. Then this is greater or is equals to, less or is equals to, less than. So now that we've got our quadratic inequality in the standard form, what we need to do is to find the factors. What are we having there? We know we have x, and obviously for us to get 2 and also that middle term, that's possibly if we have 1 and we have 2. So because of this, it's a positive. It actually forces, it's a positive. It actually forces all the signs inside to be negative. But if we follow the normal standard procedure, we're going to say the bigger number takes the sign of the middle term. So it becomes a minus over there. And again, because we want to achieve a positive sign over there, that's if we multiply a negative by a negative. So when you get to this stage, this is where your next step is to find what we call the critical value. So you need to write there to say the critical values. What are the critical values? It's more like you just equate this to 0, you equate that to 0, then you solve for x. You end up having your critical values, x being equals to 2 for this, or x being equals to 1 for that over there. So this is the only moment where you are allowed to use an equal sign over there. Why? Because these are what we call the critical values. So now that you've got your critical values, you need to represent them on a number line. So there you've got your number line. So which number between 1 and 2 comes first? So it's 1 followed by 2. And most importantly, can you see we have less or equals to, we have greater or equals to. That's where you have a dot or a round which is shaded. But if it was less than or greater than, it was just going to be a round over there. So that means now, because we're dealing with greater than or it's equals to, then you are going to have a circle which is shaded. A circle which is shaded. Very, very much important over there. And most importantly, guys, when you have a greater than sign over there, you always have your arrows pointing outwards. You always have your arrows pointing outwards. But if it was a less than, then you are going to have your whatever circle, then you just join the line. So that is the difference between the two. So now that you've represented everything on the number line, you now need to rewrite it mathematically. So I've always been saying, because remember, we're solving for x. So I just say x, then I take this arrow exactly as it is. Can you see where this arrow is pointing? It's pointing in that direction. But remember, the sign is whatever or it's equals to. That is why I'm going to have that is equals to. Then I just take 1 as it is. If it was a negative value, I was going to take it as it is. Then you can say, oh, x, can you see that sign? It's pointing towards the right. So it's greater or it's equals to. And then from there, you just write that 2 as it is. By so doing, ladies and gentlemen, this is how you should score yourself maximum marks on this question. I'm not sure, guys, if you've got any questions over there. Tando determination. Do you guys have any questions over there?
No, sir. But say, what if these points are just straight line? How are we going to identify that x is greater or less than?
Oh, you mean if it's a line which is connected there?
So
Okay, so let me quickly finish up with this one to say they are actually going to give you a mark for writing it in the standard form. So that step, it actually has a mark. And most importantly, for you to factorize, so for factorization, they also give you a mark for that. And therefore, for you to have these two values, they give you a mark. So that's how you score yourself 4 marks. So now, let's try to have a look determination at what you are saying over there. So if the sign there, let's say it was less than, it was less than, it was less than, it was less than. So that means you were going to have a dot or a circle which is shaded because of less or is equals to, circle which is shaded less or is equals to. Then you just join the two. Then in this case, this is where you have that thing of x less, then you write these values on the sides. But remember, less or is equals to, less or is equals to. Then you just say 1, and again you just say 2. So it's more like you are saying this line is actually between 1 and 2. I'm not sure if you understand the determination.
okay, sir. Thank you.
100%. So now I can clearly hear you a determination. You said which paper are you remaining with? Because I heard you mentioning maths.
Yeah, I'm left with mathematics and physics.
So maths, which paper?
No, they didn't tell us. They just that I'm going to write mathematics.
Oh, so is there possibility that it could be a combined question, paper 1 and 2.
Yeah, maybe it could be like that because Sir didn't even mention.
Okay. All right. Now then it's fine. Let's try to quickly move to question 1.1.4. So this is what you are given determination. You're given square root of 43 minus x minus x, and then you have plus 1, and this question or the whole of that, it's actually equated to 0, and this question is allocated 5 marks. Let me just try to get another marker over there. So this is allocated um, 5 marks. So Tando, always when you are given a math problem, try to interpret or analyze it. So the moment you see a square root, then you know that we are dealing with SATs. So the moment you see a square root, you know you're dealing with SATs. So what does SAT want you to do? It actually wants you to move everything to the other side and just remain with a square root on one side. That is what SARS guides you in terms of your first step. So what does it mean? It means you must move all these terms to the other side and remain with one term that is a square root on one side of the equal sign. So this is an equation, but after removing the square root, we'll be able to know if it's a linear equation or if it's a quadratic equation. So let's see. We are having square root of 43 minus x. Then let's move everything to the other side. So that means we're going to have positive x. That one we are going to have negative or minus 1 over there. So can you see? This is where you can therefore introduce a square root on both sides. X minus 1, obviously it's going to be 2 of the same thing. So this squared, it actually removes that square root and you remain with 43 minus x. It's equals to that by that, that by that. You're having x squared minus x. This by that by that. It's minus x. Then you have positive 1 over there. So can you now see, because of this power of 2, it makes the whole of this a quadratic equation. So now that you've got a quadratic equation, what does it mean, ladies and gentlemen, if they are there? So it simply means you need to rewrite it in the standard form. And most importantly, it doesn't necessarily mean that always you need to move everything to the left. You can still move everything to the other side. So that means, let's say we've got 43 minus x and just simplify the like terms there to say we have negative 2x, we have plus 1. So what I mean is that let's move this one to the correct position and also move that one to the correct position, which means we are going to remain with 0 because we moved everything to the other side. And therefore, we've got x squared, and then that it changes its sign, it becomes negative that plus that, then we have negative x. And then what is 1 minus that? I think we end up having negative, what is it? Is it not 42 over there? So can you now see, we have
Yes.
this thing in the standard form and everything it's equated to 0. So what I'm saying, guys, is that this thing, if you want to write it nicely the way you are used to, you can still say x squared minus x minus 42 is still equals to 0. So it's more like, in short, I'm saying u is equals to Tando. At the same time, Tando is equals to u. There's nothing that is different between these two. U equals to Tando. Tando equals to u. So can you see, whether you take everything to the other side and equate it to 0, then it's in the standard form. You can just swap and rewrite them exactly as they are. I hope that part makes perfect sense over there. So can you see, now that it's in the standard form, it simply means we can find the factors over there. I'm not sure if you guys already got the factors. What two values, when multiplied together, they give that, and we can work them out to give us -1. What are those two values, guys?
-7 +6.
So you're saying 6 and what?
7.
Okay, 6 and 7. So the bigger number takes the sign of the middle term. What is the middle term? It's negative.
Negative.
Yes. And then that 6, for us to achieve a negative there, that's if we multiply by a positive value. So you can therefore say x, it's actually equals to what? Can you see? You can equate it to 7, or x, it's equals to a -6 over there. So now, when it comes to this type of a problem where you are dealing with SATs, you might need to take both of these answers to test if they are correct. You might find that it's only one answer which is correct. So can we try do that and check which one between the two is correct? In case if you are not able to do it, just let me know so that I can explain. But otherwise, if you are able to do it, just punch on a calculator and let me know what are you getting over there.
So do we test it with the original formula?
Yes, always handle with the original formula.
Say, I think x is close to 7.
Why are you saying x is possibly equals to 7?
Because when we take our 7 and substitute it with the original formula, it's giving us 0. And when we take -6, substitute it with our original formula, is not giving us 0.
Okay, for that reason, that means we have to cancel that because it is the one which is not equals to that. So by so doing, Tando, you score yourself full 5 marks on this question. So they are going to give you a mark for isolating. What do we mean by isolating SAT? So that means with you having SAT on one side of an equal sign, they are going to give you a mark for that. And again, for you squaring both sides, they are going to give you a mark for that. And most importantly, for you to write this in the standard form, they are also going to give you a mark over there. And the last mark, not necessarily the last, but the fourth mark comes from your factorization over there. And then from there, your final answers are given a mark. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is how you score yourself 5 full marks. So are we all on the same page on that one, guys?
Yes.
Lerato, are we doing okay that side? Tando, are you also confirming that we are on the same page there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, 100%. So now let's try to move to the next part of this question one and see what exactly are we having over there. So let's see. I think it's what is it? A simultaneous type of an equation. So we are now on 1.2. So that means we are done with 1.1, which was solved for x. So we are now on 1.2, which is solved simultaneously for x and y. So the word simultaneously, they are just simply saying at the same time solve for both of these unknowns. Okay, what are we given there? So we are given 2y minus x, it's equals to 3, and again we are given y squared plus 3x, and this is equals to 2xy. So we normally take that to be equation number 1, and we take this to be equation number 2. So it doesn't matter which one you regard as your equation number 1. What matters the most is the next step that comes after you deciding on which one is equation number 1 and which one is equation number 2. So very, very much important, guys. Equation number 1 is what we call an inequality, a linear equation. So a linear equation is an equation where the letters are to the power of 1. But the second one is what we call a quadratic equation. Why? Because we see there's one letter which is to the power of 2. So it's almost, let me say, in most cases, it's easy to use equation number 1, which is a linear equation, to make one variable the subject of the formula. So it's also easy to use this one as opposed to that one, because you end up having some fractions when you use that y over there because of that 2. So that means, guys, remember I said you can still move this to the other side. So that means you end up having 2y, you transpose is minus 3, and this is equals to x. So it's not like it's a rule which says always x must be on the left side. But if you want to write it on the left side, you can still rewrite it as x. It's equals to 2y minus 3, and only regard this as your equation number 3. And therefore, on your next step, you obviously substitute equation number 3 into equation number 2. Equation number 2 that you did not touch. So let's now try to substitute and see what we are having there. So we have y squared plus 3. Wherever we see x, we substitute all of that. So let's see. This is equals to. So let's see. Can you see? You can still rewrite this thing nicely such that you start with a 2y. So you can just say 2y into, then you have 2y minus 3. Someone was going to say 2 into 2y minus 3, and they have y there. So sometimes you make a mistake when you approach it this way. Some other people would say 2 times that, and then they say it's 4y. That times that, it's minus what is it, minus 6. For some reason, they remember there's still y over there. Then they just maybe squeeze it there and say, okay, let's also include it. So it's not just having a y there. You need to mathematically include it. But it's better to just write the coefficient and the variable than whatever in a bracket. So always, ladies and gentlemen, when you have a math problem, the first thing that you need to do is to remove the brackets if there are any. Secondly, you work out the like terms, and then from there you have an equation which is either a linear or a quadratic. Then based on the type of a problem that you're dealing with, you know how to approach it. So in this case, we need to remove the brackets. So that means we have this by that is 6y, that by that it's negative 9. So just make sure that whatever that I'm doing over there, ladies and gentlemen, you have your eyes wide open. That times that, you are having 4y squared. That times that, you are having minus, is it 6y? So now what you can do, ladies and gentlemen, is to then move everything to the other side. So I would like to move this one to the other side because I want to have a positive a value. So that means I can just say I'm going to remain with 0 and say, let's see, 4y squared minus y, and then what are we having? We have minus 6y over there, and then you transpose, it changes the sign, we have 6y. And then again, you also transpose that, and then you end up having positive 9. So you can now rewrite them nicely such that you've got 4y squared. Can you
Sir,
see? Mm-hmm.
y squared isn't going to change the sign and be negative y squared, not y
Oh
only.
yes, not y. Yes, not y. So thanks very much for that. So the danger with me forgetting that squared over there, it means I was possibly going to add all of this because they seem to be the like terms. So I'm glad that you did notice that mistake. So for someone who didn't notice that mistake, it means you are most likely to make mistakes when you rewrite the information. So let's rewrite it correctly and say that. So can you see? Um, I should have actually written what is it, 3y squared over there, but because I made a mistake, I continued to make another mistake on the next step. Okay, so there, what are we having? It's negative 12 y plus 9. So it seems like 3 is actually a common factor. Let's see, 3 goes into 3 once, then we have 1y squared minus how many times? Is it not 4 times? I think it's 4 times. Here, it also goes 3 times. Everything is equated to 0. So you can still say 0 is equal to, you factorize and you have your factors on this side. It doesn't really matter that much whether you have 0 on this side or the other side. So what are we having there? I think 3 and 1 are our factors. The bigger number takes the sign of the middle term. For us to achieve a positive, that's if we also multiply by a negative 1 over there, which means we have two values where y is equals to 1 or y is equals to 3. So can you now see we can use these values to substitute into equation number 3? Why? Because we want to calculate the x value. So what are we having there? We have that being negative 1. I hope everyone is able to see over there. So let's see, what else are we having? We still have 2 into 3 minus 3. So what is that, guys? This times this is 6 minus that is 3. So in short, it simply means we can represent our final answers in a form of a coordinate. So that means when we have a y, am I right? When we have x being 1, the corresponding y value is what? No, negative 1. The corresponding y value is 1. When we have 3, x, our x value, the corresponding y value is also 3 over there. Did we do everything correctly, guys? Do you think we have done the correct calculation over there?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And you guys, you do know very well how to prove if your final answers are wrong or correct, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, 100%. So now, let's quickly try to move um, to the, it seems like this is the last part of our question, but most importantly, guys, let me show you exactly where you score your marks. So for you to derive this, you are going to be given a mark. So remember, this question was actually allocated how many marks? It was 5 marks. So for you to write that in the standard form, or rather let me say, for you to derive equation number 3, you are given a mark for doing that. Most importantly, for you, let's see. So for you to say x is equals to 2y minus 3, That's where you score yourself your first mark. And then your second mark comes from you substituting correctly your equation number 3 into equation number 2. So once you do that, guys, you only get a mark for writing that in the standard form. So this is normally where you score your last mark. So not necessarily your last mark, but your last mark from where you substituted, because you can see after you substituted, you've done a bit of math calculations there, and that this part is not allocated any mark, but your standard form is allocated some marks over there. And most importantly, for factorization, for your correct factors, they give you a mark over there. Therefore, your final answers are therefore given a mark. So you therefore have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over there. So this is exactly where you score yourself full marks for that question. I'm not sure if you guys did fully understand the approach there, but as you've confirmed, I am very much happy that everyone was following on that question. So here's another question of which I would like to pose it to you guys to tell me in terms of how do you approach this type of a problem, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm just not sure if you guys are able to clearly see over there. Maybe let me try to put it as landscape. Guys, can you see over there? Is it clear there on your screen, or is it blurry?
No, sir, it's clear.
It's clear.
Okay, 100%. So if it is clear, is there someone who'd like to give us an indication of how do we go about this type of a problem where they say, let's see, what are they saying there? So they're actually saying this is 1.3. The roots of a quadratic equation. So this is a quadratic equation are given as follows. So this is what we are given over there. So now the question says, determine the value or values. So every time when you've got something written such that it's a value in brackets they put in S, it means you could possibly have two values of the unknown. So in this case, they're saying determine the value or values of P for which the equation will have non-real roots. So is there someone who wants to give us a guide in terms of how can we best or how can we easily tackle this type of questions, guys? Anyone? Yes, determination. I see you've got your mic unmuted there. Can you give us a guide?
Yes, I'm not sure, sir, but I guess you're
Mhm.
gonna take P brackets 6 minus cube close brackets minus 9 only.
Okay. Maybe let me try to create some space over there. Okay, but it's fine. Okay, I'll just write it somewhere there. So what you're saying, termination, is that we are going to take a P into 6 minus P close minus 9. Then what we do with that determination? So this is 9. What do we do with that?
Don't you going to remove the brackets, sir?
Okay, but now, because we have this, is it just that, remember, if there's no equal sign, then it means this thing is an expression. Is that how you want it to be?
So I'm not even sure, but please solve it. And I'm not sure.
You're not sure.
So,
Okay.
when
Yes,
it's
Tando.
non-real,
Mm-hmm.
so when it's non-real, the discriminant is bigger than 0.
The what?
The discriminant,
Mm-hmm.
does it mean it's bigger than 0 or smaller
So you
than?
say, so you're saying A is greater than 0.
I'm not sure what the rule that says non-real roots. The discriminant has to be bigger or smaller than. So that's what I'm not sure of.
Yes, okay. So on this one, Tando, I'm going to give you guys a challenge to say, in this case, the most important part is for you to understand this part. So you will need to try and check um, what happens when they say non-real roots. What happens when they say real roots or whatever? Because in that way, you'll be able to easily start correctly with your first step as determination has suggested over there, which is that part. Then from there, you will be able to use the correct inequality sign over there, or otherwise if it's equals to, or whatever the case may be. Then from there, determination, that's when you can work it out and remove the brackets and whatever and continue with it until you get to the final answer. But I wanted you guys to notice that you cannot easily continue if you are not sure in terms of what this means. So I'm going to leave it to you guys as your homework, and then from there, if you have done it, you can still send it via inbox. But otherwise, if you've got some preparations to do for tomorrow, you can just ignore it for now, but just make sure that you check what that part means. And then from there, at a later stage, when we prepare for complementary or preparatory exams, then we are going to discuss it so that you guys get full marks on all the question one question. So can you see, if you scored everything there, we know we've got um 24 out of 150. So 24 out of 150, it's a lot of marks, guys. It's a lot of marks, of which it contributes a lot to what your percentage on this paper. So guys, this should bring us to the end of our lesson for today. I'm hoping as we continue, I will need to do a lesson where I present my notes on sequence and series. And then from there, we should be able to go through that presentation and therefore be able to easily answer the questions related to number pattern. Number pattern, it's not really that much complicated or difficult. It is a straightforward a chapter of which you just need to understand the basics, which is something that I need to take you guys through. And then from there, as we continue, obviously you have another type of sequence and series over there, possibly series, and then followed by functions. I know Lerato requested that we do or we redo functions. So I'm hoping as soon as we're done with sequence and series, what's going to come next is this part, which is the functions. We've done it before, but we'll still redo this. So I'm not sure, guys, if there's any of you who have got some questions before we conclude on today's lesson. Anyone with a question, guys?
So, Mina, I'm writing on Wednesday. So, please can we do this example of the non-real because I got it as the scope.
So it came as a, let me check if
Yeah, a similar example.
let me check if there's a memo for this one. But I know someone you got it you got it right there. Let's see. So let's see. So for non-real, that means delta is less than 0 there.
It's less than. Yes, sir.
Who said that? It was Tando, isn't it? You are the one who said it, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So can you therefore see that if you are saying let's see, if you are saying for non-real roots, that's where delta is equals to zero. And remember, guys, delta is whatever that is inside the square root. Am I correct there, Tando, in saying that?
Yes, sir.
So that means whatever that is inside the square root, you need to comment to say delta is either is less than or is greater than or is equals to. What else there, Tando?
So, Mina, I did the equation, but I'm not finished because I put the p inside the brackets, like 6p minus p squared minus 9 is smaller than 0. And that's where I stopped because I'm not sure what to do after.
Oh, okay. All right, now I see. So it's more like working it out as an inequality. So as soon as you've done that, and you know that because they're saying non-roots, I mean non-real roots, and for non-real roots, that's when the delta is less than 0. So that means you say all of that delta less than 0, then you solve. So always determination has said, always when you're given brackets, what you want to do is to remove the brackets. So can you see, you are going to multiply this by that and you multiply that by that, so you end up having
So, can
a
you please zoom in the screen a little? It's not
or,
visible.
or maybe let me try bringing my whiteboard over there,
Yes.
because yes sir.
Can I ask which group must I use?
There's a group, a private group. I think I've sent what is it? I think I've sent something in there, or maybe on your inbox. Just let me quickly check for you. I'm not sure if I pinned it, but
Okay.
did you find it?
No, I was checking the private group. There's nothing there. I was checking it just right now.
Maybe inside your inbox is in there. Is it no? I've sent a message in the private group. Just check on your list of contacts. There's somewhere I've sent a message. Or maybe on your list of contacts, just check a pinned message. You're not able to see a pinned message.
No.
Okay, no. Then it's fine. Maybe let me quickly finish off this question, because we're done. I was about to explain something to Tando. So in the meantime, while I explain this one, you can just quickly check. So it's written private / solving exam papers. You will see it has a profile picture of a pie and something with some colors there. Okay. Quickly, let me just explain this one. So you're saying delta is less than 0. Then you have your p into 6 minus p minus 9 less than 0 over there. So what I was saying, Tando, you remove the brackets by multiplying this by that, by that, by that, by that. So you end up having, what is it, 6p, and then you end up having negative p squared minus 9 is less than 0. Then from there, you can try to rewrite this in the standard form. What are you having there? You have negative p squared. Can you see it's a plus there? So this is plus 6p. And then from there, what are you having there? You have negative 9 less than 0. But most importantly, remember determination. In the beginning of our lesson, we said you need to therefore remove that negative, which means you change the sign of everything along that. So that means you're going to have a positive p squared, you change the sign of that, it's negative 6p, you change that sign to a positive 9. This is also a sign, guys, so it must change. So Tando, you change it to greater than that. And then from there, we can maybe try to factorize that. What are the factors there? So don't make a mistake of writing x there. So I think 3, when you multiply it by 3, it actually gives you what? Does it not give you what is it, guys? Does it not give you, it gives you 9. So when you have a negative and a negative over there, that's when it gives you negative that p over there. So in short, you can therefore notice that the factors over there, you are just having a p minus 3, and again you're having p minus 3 less than less than that. So I'm not sure if there's someone who can comment to say p is the element of what, and again p, it's not equals to 3. So I'm not sure, guys. Let me just check. Dimpo, a o nyaka go e feleletsa e, so ke that question ya di what is it, ya di roots. So they said on this question for non-real roots. So for non-real roots, we're able to say it's less than 0. So we equated this, which was inside the square root. Then we have worked out everything up until here. So now we want to make a conclusion there to comment. Do you have a summarized format of what we say when we get to that stage there?
Not sure, sir. No.
Not sure. I'm not sure if Dimpo, Ntlandla, or Lebogang, Lerato, can you guys assist us there? Because there is a way in which you indicate all of this.
Yes, sir, no idea.
Okay, so that means we might need to check. I'll also double check. I forgot completely in terms of how do we then interpret that last part over there. But most importantly, when you get to this stage, you will score some marks over there up until there where you might not score a mark over there, which is something that we need to verify. I know there are some summarized notes that we've got. So Dimpo, just make sure that you send me that information. Then I'll share it with everyone to know when they say non-real, what we do. When they say real, what we do. When they say whatever, what we do. Because that is the first important step. Because once you know for non-real roots, you say less than 0, then you can easily perform some calculations which will score some marks over there. So guys, I notice we are running out of time, but I'm not sure if up to this point we can say we are satisfied there. Are we happy there up to what we have done there?
Yes, sir. Thanks a lot.
Okay, Tando. Okay, so guys, this should bring us to the end of our lesson for today. But before I forget, Tando, this is allocated a mark, and normally you only get a mark for writing the standard form correctly. And then again, for factors, normally they give you a mark. So this is where we might lose a mark. So I just don't want to guess that one. I'll need to first verify and check, and then from there we should be able to correctly understand and be able to answer it correctly. So guys, thanks very much for joining, and I hope you enjoyed as much as I did. Yes, Leratu.
So maybe there at the end it's going to be P is greater than 3 or P is less than 3. Either between those two.
So you're saying it's either P is greater than 3 or P is less than 3. That's what you say, ne?
Yes.
Okay. So the other thing that I'm not sure of is if we can use what is it? Is if we can use that table. Okay, let me just cancel all of this, Lerato. I mean, not a table, but to represent it on a number line. Because if I had to do that, I was going to have a number line there, and then from there I know there what am I having there. So there I'm actually having a 3, because the critical value there, it is going to be P minus 3. P is equals to 3. So I'm having 3 there. Then I'm just going to have a circle over there which is not shaded because of that. And so that means I will need to either have that line which is actually heading in that direction or in that direction. So let me also confirm this one to say, can it be represented on a number line? And again, if not, I notice in the memo they've used a function, but I just don't want to dwell into that until I first verify what's going on over there. And once that happens, Tando, I'll just make sure that I share that information. Otherwise, if I'm not able to, let's just make sure that when we get to term 3, final exam, we nail it with understanding. So I think that's it, guys, for today. So Tando, remember to try and catch up on my website, just in case if you've got some exam questions that you'd like to use for practice. I've posted some content there. You can still catch up. So guys, this brings us to the end of our lesson for today, and thanks very much for joining. You guys have a good night over there.
Same.